Hello everyone, I'm Prentice.
And I'm Dion, and we're the Motleys. In today's video, we are going to be sharing with you our experience with Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, or FPU for short. But first, we wanted to give you an overview of what this channel is going to be about and also our history with finances. So we created this channel because we wanted an outlet to not only share our experience with our debt-free journey, but then also to assist, help, and encourage others along the way in their debt-free journey.
Alright, so I want to get right into it, give you a little history on our finances, or specifically my experience with finances. For the most part, growing up, I was okay with finances. I opened up a bank account probably when I was in junior school or middle school, and I remember always, saving. My parents always told me to save, even though I always wanted to, go buy things such as candy or a new toy, or not really a new toy, but just like I was into gadgets back then, so I always wanted stuff. I always wanted some fresh new clothes or some sneakers, so my money was pretty much saved to spend. I remember being in college, I was a little bit more frugal. I knew that it was important to save. My parents would especially my mom, would always tell me, never to get a credit card. Don't worry about getting a credit card. And even other people that I've encountered have always said, hey, don't get a credit card. There'll be a lot of people, saying, hey, I'll give you a $5 or $10 Walmart gift card if you sign up for this credit card. You don't need to use it. Just sign up. And I always stayed away from those, and it wasn't until I got a real job, and I said, well, I'm making good money, and one day I got a credit card offer, and I was like, I'm gonna go get a credit card offer, build good credit. It's always good to have good credit, right? So I decided to go ahead and do it, and as a perk, I ended up getting like a $50 Walmart gift card by signing up. I think my first credit card was it wasn't Discover, it was a Visa.
What, Capital One?
Yeah, probably a Visa Capital One or something to that extent, and didn't even really care. But at the time, my interest rate was like 28%. That was ridiculous.
You remember your interest rate?
Yeah, about 28%.
Wow.
But people always say, oh, don't worry about the interest rate, as long as you pay it off at the end of the month. Well, things were going good. I would I would buy things, I would make payments. I said I had a job, everything's good, I could just pay it off at the end of the month. I was consistent on doing that. Well, then one time I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go buy some clothes, and I think I racked up a couple $100, and long story short, I had the money, but I was like, man, I really don't want to spend this $100 in my bank account. I want to use this for something else. Ended up doing that, and $200 turned into $250, $250 turned into $350, and before I knew it, I was in debt. And it didn't take a whole lot to do that. So that's just in a nutshell my experience. And getting married, we both came into our marriage with our own individual debt, and same mistakes. Wanting things that we should have been saving for in the very beginning. We said, you know what, we got a credit card, we can go ahead and charge this and pay it off in a few months. Sweetie, you want to tell yours?
Well, my story started just a little bit different than yours, aside from saving. So I came from a family that was very adamant about saving. I opened my very first bank account when I was like 13 or 14 years old, and it was a savings account only, and I was not allowed to withdraw cash. So only my legal guardian, my uncle who raised me, was the only person that could take cash out of the account. Now, I could deposit money, and I could do a less cash during the deposit, but I could not physically go in and take the money out. So that's how I started with finances, and I would put money away out of each of my paychecks. So I would save about half of the money that I got on a pay period. That would go into the savings account, and then the rest of the money would be my fun money to spend. So from the time I started working at 13, 14 years old, I knew about finances, I knew about saving, I knew about, waiting for things. I knew about the delayed gratification, but of course, being a teenager, the older I got, the more money I started to make. Those habits quickly went away, which is sad because we ended up in debt. And so for me, my experience with credit cards, got my very first credit card when I was 18 years old. It was a Capital One Visa, and the credit limit was $200. And I applied for it, I think, right before I left to go to college, and it was mailed to my home address, and my uncle kept it in his safe. So even though I had the credit card, I wasn't actively using it. So me being me, I thought I was smart, called the credit card company and told them that I lost my card and I needed to update and change my address. So I had them mail the card to my dorm address, and my uncle didn't even know anything about it. And that's when I started using my credit card. And again, it was only $200. So you would think, oh, you can't really get into too much trouble with $200, but I got in a ton of trouble with $200. In addition to that, I also applied for a Discover. That was my second credit card, and this was all during my freshman year. So that was my second credit card. I applied for a credit card for a freaking, I think it was like a water container, like those old school plastic containers. It had like candy in it. I think he had a t-shirt in it or something like that. Did the application. I honestly didn't think I was going to get the card, but they actually approved me for $1,000 credit limit. And so that was a total of $1,200 that I had in credit cards as a freshman in college. I used it to buy train tickets home. I used it to buy clothes. I used it to buy food. I used it to get cash off of it. Like it was just crazy. But before I graduated, actually after we had gotten married, I was smart enough to pay them off and close them. But when we got married, we started feeding into the dream again of, oh, you need to have credit, you need to establish credit. And so even though I didn't have any credit cards, and I don't know if you still had any open at the time, I think we closed
just about.
We paid them off and closed them.
Regions.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, or Union Planners or whatever it was back in the day. So we paid off the credit cards, closed them, but then I would say, man, what, 4 years into our marriage?
Yeah.
We reestablished credit. We reopened credit card accounts, and so that started the cycle all over again. The only difference, I would say, in my opinion, is that even though we would carry the balances over, we would eventually pay them off. But again, it was still purchasing things that we could have saved for, as Prentice said, things that we could have, put off and just delayed or not even had at all. So that kind of kept up with the cycle of us using credit cards, paying them off, charging them up again, paying them off, and then we still had student loans. So that's the debt that I came into the marriage with, were my student loans. And then we started acquiring cars. We bought vehicles. We had a home. We took out a mortgage. You bought tools on credit. I was shopping on credit. Oh my God, my weakness was New York and Company back in the day. Like, I literally had a closet full of New York and Company clothes. Like, no joke. Like my jeans, my topped sweaters, jackets, purses, accessories, you name it. I basically had New York and Company in my closet. And so that was my weakness. Like, I was an emotional shopper, and that was huge.
Yep.
Because I would shop if I was excited, if I was happy, if I was sad, if I was feeling depressed, which I did suffer from depression, and that contributed to my spending. But it didn't matter. I felt like as long as the bills were paid, we have money in our savings account, we have money in our mutual fund, retirement accounts, that excess money was for us to do whatever we wanted to do with it. So, long story short, that's my experience and my financial history. So let's talk about why we did FPU. I know you kind of hit on it earlier about this.
So why we did FPU, we realized, I'll just give you the background story. We realized we were in debt. We realized that we needed to make some really major decisions on how we look at money. It all started with I would almost say when we decided to sell our home.
Yeah, that started our
That started our
freedom journey.
Financial freedom journey. We were at a point where we weren't upside down on our house. We had put a lot of updates and things into our house with the mindset that we would eventually sell, rent, to find an area where we would eventually like to settle down. The house we were in, we stayed there for about 8 years.
You were there for 8 years?
We never intended to stay there that long. It was more of an investment, right? Starter home.
Yeah.
And with the market crashing, what was that, 2000?
We purchased the house in 2006.
Yeah,
and the market crashed,
2008.
2008.
We really had to just sit on it until our equity in the house
built back up.
And luckily, and with the grace of God, we were able to sell it and everything. But
in 18 days.
In 18 days, so that was a blessing. But
oh man,
looking back on that, we started that journey because we wanted to not be in debt. We wanted to be able to say, we want to do X, Y, and Z. We want to go help others. God has given both of us the spirit of giving.
Yeah.
And you do more when you have more, and we want to be better stewards of our money and the things that God has blessed us with. So, cutting to the chase, we sold our home, decided to rent, and we were happy. Everything was going great. We heard about.
So that was in 2015.
It was 2015. Oh, and let me just. Yeah. So meanwhile, this is going on. We were in a transition, changing churches, and we decided to join this new church. Loved it. It was really going well for us. And we heard about Financial Peace University being offered. So we knew about Financial Peace University through our former church, but
actually I didn't.
I thought we heard about it, or someone said something about it.
Well, it was after the fact. So after we had already signed up for the class, I was having a conversation with a close friend of mine that still attended the old church that we had left. And she was saying, we offered it here too. And I'm like, the 13 years I was there, I don't recall hearing about this. So I think it was more of us maybe just being oblivious to it, not really knowing what it was, and then just not even being ready. And we weren't ready at that point. 2015 was, actually 2014 and 2015 were really huge years for us as far as transition. And what I want to back up a little bit and kind of go back to the process with selling the house, because even before all of that happened, we cut our cable. We were already cutting our expenses. So we cut our cable. We went to Hulu and Netflix for TV. Yep. We cut back on our cell phone. We cut back on expenses, like excessive spending and things like that. So we didn't do as much traveling like we used to. We would travel back and forth to see family because both of our families live out of town. And so we cut back on the amount of time that we were spending traveling and things like that. And even though that money went into the house, we still had a considerable amount that we were not spending, that we were cutting back on. And so we had already started to make transitions and make moves to embark on this journey of being debt free. But then even after selling the house, we downsized. We went into a 2-bedroom apartment, which is where we are now. And we still cut back on our expenses even before then. So moving forward to what Prentice is talking about, when we heard about FPU, we did join a new church, and that church offered it. So we joined our church in December of 2016, and the class started to be offered, I think, January, February of 2017. And we enrolled. We were just like, this is perfect. This falls right in line with what we were already doing. We both created vision boards for ourselves for 2017, and on each of those vision boards, one of the things was getting control of our finances, and like he said, becoming good stewards of our money.
Yeah. So basically, that's why we wanted to do FPU, and we realized that once we understood what FPU was about, it was essential for us to really just take hold, and like Dave often says, move with gazelle intensity.
Yeah.
And when we heard that even in class, we were just like astounded, just because that described what we decided to do. It was a point where we said, you know what, we're tired of living paycheck to paycheck. We're tired of not having money at the end of the month. So FPU was, like I said, it was very essential for us to do it. And as we were going through the class and we were understanding or learning the principles of managing money and how God intended it for us to be lenders, not borrowers, and pretty much the slavery that being in debt has on you, the hold. I shouldn't say slavery. It's not the right word, but the hold that debt has on a person, it literally has you in chains. I mean, because your life, you cannot live the way God intended us to live, being in bondage of debt, and so
The borrower is slave to the lender.
yeah. So I mean, we quickly learned that this was the right decision. It was the best $100 that we spent for our material, and we're still learning. We're still growing. Is it perfect? No. We still have times where the month we didn't properly budget, or we spent more than what we planned to budget. But we're learning. We're taking lessons learned from each month, and we're focusing on how to get better and better.
And we're excited about it.
Yeah,
we're excited about it. And I mean, this is something that we embarked on doing together. So as soon as we signed up for the class, me being me, I went crazy and went online. I did all the research that I could. I wanted to know who was Dave Ramsey, what was Financial Peace University about, what could I expect, what am I supposed to do with this box of materials that we were given, and what other avenues, support, documentation is out there to prove that this is actually successful and it's going to work. So having all those questions and doing all of their research, we actually started implementing the baby steps before we started the class. So we signed up for the class in February of 2017, but it actually did not start until March of 2017. However, even me, like I said, I did my research and we started right away with baby step number 1, which, if you're not familiar with Financial Peace University, there are 7 baby steps. Look at that. I don't even remember. There's 7 baby steps, and you learn how to go through each baby step in the 9-week course. And it takes you, of course, longer than 9 weeks to go through each step, but you will learn in a detailed fashion in a classroom setting, very hands-on, how to go about each baby step, why each baby step is important. And so, because we were already on this journey, we had already started our debt-free journey with the selling of our home, cutting back our expenses, downsizing, etc., it just fell in line. It just seemed to finally sync up with what we were already doing. And so that's why we ended up taking the class in the first place. So do you want to share your experience? You kind of touched on a few other things about your experience, but I guess I'll just say, what did it do for you?
The experience was, it was really liberating, if I can choose one word to describe it. It really just opened up my mind on the possibilities of being, what being debt free looks like. And what I mean by that is, what else have I told myself I couldn't do or I wasn't able to do because of my financial position, and getting into a place where being debt free was possible now, and believing that and trusting that I'm going to get there eventually. Even if it takes me a couple years to get there, I'm going to get there. Yeah, so that's my experience with FPU.
Okay. So for me, my experience was also liberating, but it made me feel like I could do anything. It made me feel like There was nothing unachievable. There was nothing that was impossible. So it literally gave me a sense of freedom and control over what was happening with our finances. I remember being that type of person that was like, I'm gonna die with my student loan debt. And it kind of became a joke. You know, we're like, oh, we're dying with that debt. And after taking FPU, I was like, wait a minute, no, I don't have to hold on to my student loans. I don't have to always have a car note. I don't always have to use a credit card in order to live the type of lifestyle that I wanted to live. So it's my dream to be able to travel. It's my dream to be able to give back to other people through avenues like this. I actually have the desire to become a financial coach in order to prevent people, hopefully, from making the same mistakes that I did, but as well as coaching them along the way if they've already fallen into the American dream. So that was my experience with FPU and what it did for me. Anything else you want to share, babe?
No, I think I'm good. Well, we certainly hope that you will consider taking FPU if you haven't never heard of it or have been curious about it, but just never taken the step or made the commitment to actually go forward with it. So we know that it changed our lives. It's continuing to change our lives.
Yeah.
And we know that giving it a shot would definitely change yours as well. So stay tuned for next week. We'll have more. We'll go into more detail and just further talk about finance.
Yep, so thank you all so much for joining us today. As Prentice said, don't forget to tune back in next week. We are planning to have our videos uploaded every other Monday, or every Monday, we'll see. If not every Monday, every other Monday. So we're still working out a few kinks in our own schedules to figure out filming days and posting days, but it will definitely be on a Monday. So please stay tuned for all of that. All of our social media information will be down in the description box below. Please don't forget to thumbs up this video and subscribe to our channel. And also, if we covered something that you wanted to hear more information about, or if you had any questions, leave that in the comment section down below, and we will definitely either respond directly to you or answer your questions in another video. And I think we're going to end it right here. So thank you guys again for watching.